something quite weird has happened since 2019, and that is that the cabinet has become populated with people who say the sort of things that used to be confined to deliberately provocative and quite obnoxious commentators. So Suella Braverman, probably the patron saint of the phenomenon that I've just described, has come under attack from the Police Superintendents Association president for her frankly witless criticism of so-called woke policing. Now, just off the top of my head, right, you're going to think of Wayne Couzens. You are, and you know, the subsequent discovery of many, many more abusers within the actual police force. You're going to remember Bieber Henry and Nicole Smallman, murder victims who were photographed, and images were shared by two serving police officers, later jailed for 33 months each. And I'm not going to read out what some of the WhatsApp messages said because you will be sick. You've got the Charing Cross toxic culture where racist, sexist and homophobic messages were routinely exchanged. Derogatory terms about people with disabilities, references to Somali children and African children, female police officers told that sexual harassment was part of police culture and that they should play the game or stay quiet. You've got probably in your own mind other memories of cases like David Carrick's, a police officer, a Met police officer who admitted 49 charges, including 24 counts of rape. You've got the 15-year-old girl strip search, Child Q, she was known as, by Met police officers at her own school. You've got the failure to investigate Stephen Port because it was contended, probably because his victims were young gay men. You've got another story this week about WhatsApp group. Officers fired from the force after their WhatsApp group that was, I don't know how my memory works, but it was named, the WhatsApp group was named Magaluf. It had 3 male officers in it. And what was particularly upsetting about that story was the way that the way it was reported that their female colleagues had thought these men were their friends, and then they read what was written about them specifically in these WhatsApp groups, and you know, that shakes your trust in colleagues, that shakes your trust in men, that kind of shakes your trust in everything when people you've been joking and laughing with and having fun with turn out to be behind your back saying these utterly disgusting things. So that's just off the top of my head, and I think most of those have happened while Suella Braverman has been in the cabinet, and many of them have happened while Suella Braverman has been in the Home Office. But she has decided that the things that people should really be getting upset about with regard to the police force is what she describes as the unacceptable level of woke policing. So she talks about badges or the progress flag. And I think she's probably talked about dancing at the Notting Hill Carnival, which has been a sort of camouflage for anti-black racism as long as I've been doing this job. Why are police officers dancing at the Notting Hill Carnival? Here's a little thing that I worked out earlier. No one has got a problem with police officers dancing at the Notting Hill Carnival. Literally nobody has got a problem with that. If people profess to have a problem with that, if I invite you to ring in and tell me why you've got a problem with police officers dancing at the Notting Hill Carnival, what you're really objecting to is police officers being nice to black people. That's your actual problem, whether you realise it or not. That's what you're actually objecting to. Nobody's got a problem with police officers wearing pride badges or wearing one police officer on one day wearing a multicoloured helmet or having a bit of a boogie at a pride march. What you're really objecting to is police officers being nice to gay people. Because you're not really allowed to be publicly racist or publicly homophobic anymore. And so the ways in which you can be subtly racist or subtly homophobic involve attacking the police for being nice to the people that you hate. Literally nobody's got a problem with dancing at Carnival, a copper dancing at Carnival. Literally nobody has got a real problem with that. So what Suella Braverman is alluding to when she talks about unacceptable levels of woke policing is, I don't know, fairly straightforward, fairly easy, perhaps, to understand. And the same with environmental protesters. You know, or with police officers taking the knee. No one's got a real problem with police officers taking the knee, unless you've got a problem with police officers expressing solidarity with victims of racism. And if you've got a problem with police officers expressing solidarity with victims of racism, then, well, there's a word for you. It's the same with booing the Black Lives Matter moments at the beginning of football games. If you're booing that or you're defending the booing of that, then you've got a problem with expressions of anti-racist sentiment. And if you're anti-racist, well, you can remember your GCSE maths. What do two negatives make? So if you're anti-racist, what are you? Yeah. So why do people like Suella Braverman attack police officers for trying to foster warmth and friendliness with the people that they are serving, the people that they are protecting? Because the idea that the police exist solely to clobber criminals is arguably one of the stupidest things you're going to hear all year. The police exist to foster community spirit, to make places safer, to make people feel safe, to make people feel confident that in the event of being victims of crime, they can go to a police officer and be looked after. God knows they've got a hell of a lot of work to do after the Wayne Couzens case, but up pops a Home Secretary claiming that the real problem with the police is that they are too woke or that they are politically correct. It's insane and disgusting. I didn't realise how serious it was, actually, until I had a little look at what Paul Fotheringham, the Police Superintendents Association president, said, because I thought to myself, you're getting a bit carried away about it. No one takes Suella Braverman seriously. But speaking at the association's annual conference in Stratford-upon-Avon, he said literally, she references dancing and fraternising with political demonstrators, which we assume relates to police attending at Pride. She talks about the displaying of the progress flag and the wearing of badges. These are deeply personal and passionate matters for our staff and our communities. He said, what I have actually seen are plenty of examples of effective community engagement and a desire to promote and welcome inclusion in all its forms. And this, of course, is a fellow who's earned his spurs in uniform. Trust and confidence starts with how we treat our people. If they cannot be their true selves at work, how can we expect them to police our communities in the best possible way? I'll remind you again, Wayne Couzens, the Charing Cross WhatsApp groups, Bieber Henry and Nicole Smallman being photographed by Jamie Lewis and Dennis Jaffa. Couzens, of course, killed Sarah Everard. You've got the 15-year-old girl being strip-searched by Met police officers. You've got David Carrick admitting 49 charges, including 24 counts of rape. You've got WhatsApp groups popping up almost on a monthly basis full of officers displaying the most disgusting language, and you've got a Home Secretary who's worried that the police are too woke. Just run that by me, will you? Just talk me through that. Talk me through how Suella Braverman looks at that brief catalogue of criminality by serving police officers, of moral depravity by serving police officers, and concludes that the real problem in the force, well, it's the ones that are trying to be nice to the people that they're policing. It's the ones that are trying to be nice to the people that they're protecting. I genuinely don't get this, but that's all right, because you can explain it to me. Why do you think Suella Braverman expresses unhappiness with what she describes as woke policing? What is she playing at?